Paranormal Karen, she's so spooky. Paranormal Karen, funny too. Paranormal Karen, she's so spooky. Oh, and did I mention she's funny too? Yeah, cha-cha-cha.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Paranormal Karen. Today, I'm so excited about my guest. I haven't spoken to her. I think it's been 2 years, not even one. And she has a book and workshops and all kinds of things happening. And I took her mediumship class and loved it. So much to talk about. But first, me. Join the Patreon. We're doing live readings. You can practice your live readings. We're doing all kinds of stuff. You can get the energy reading of the week. You can hear 2X's podcast episodes, whatever. So today, this is coming out, Melissa, I don't know if I told you this, but this is coming out in the last weekend of February. So
nice.
Yes. So please say hello to my friend Melissa St Hilaire. How are you?
I'm fantastic, Karen. How are you? I'm so happy to be here.
You're like magic. I literally called you and I turned around and huge, beautiful snowflakes are falling. And I was like, she did that.
Yay.
All right. And you're in beautiful Los Angeles, right?
I am, and it is beautiful, but it's chilly here. You know, I'm in the valley, and it's pretty cold. Like I actually have to put the heat on, if you can believe it.
Oh no! Hey, made me get out a sweater. I'm sorry. I'm out in the middle of Siberia, but you really do get used to it. I know. So I want to tell my friends. So you, the first thing I want to start with is your book. Talk a little bit about the energies of what's going on, and also, so just so people know, you're kind of like a triple threat. So you are a psychic, you are a medium, you are a writer, you make witch stuff, you make awesome. Last video I saw, you were making wands and stuff. So yes. We have all sorts of places to get to today. But tell me about this book, because this is a huge deal.
Yes, it's huge. I'm so excited. So the book is called 30 Real Signs from the Afterlife. And it's basically like because I teach classes like psychic development and mediumship for witches and regular mediumship as well. And what I did was I took the cream off the top of like all of the classes I've taught over the past decade or so, however long it's been, and put everything into this book. The idea behind it is the first part of it is to teach people how to communicate with the dead, and I truly believe that we are all born with this ability, and that we just sort of kind of had it, beaten out of us by language, society, etc. And
I'm going to say thank you for saying that, because there's some mediums that will say all mediums are psychic, but all psychics are not mediums. And I'm always like, wait a minute. But I think people can work on what they want to work on, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I've always disagreed with that sentiment, because it doesn't really make sense to me, because why should some people not be able to communicate with the dead, but others? It doesn't really make sense, because, the dead are just people.
Yes. Yes. And it's kind of like sports. You might be Michael Jordan, or you might play high school ball, but everybody can play.
Exactly. And I think of it like drawing. You know what I mean? Everybody can pick up a pencil and draw something on a piece of paper. Not everyone's going to be Picasso, but that's okay. And because we need, that's the spice of life, variety, right? So we need some people who are going to be better at some things and not good at other things or whatever. Like I can't change oil in my car, so I have to have someone do that for me who's way better at it.
Right. You could learn it if you had to, if you were in The Walking Dead and no one else would. You could learn it, but you don't need to.
Oh, for sure. But I don't need to, right? So, but I feel that way about mediumship. We all have access to it. It's just energy and frequencies, it's vibrations. And so the first part of the book is all about like, how to set sacred space, because you want to make sure that you're safe when you're doing it, just in case, you don't want to, attract some non-human spirit that might throw you off, Yeah. And then I teach about intentions, because you want to set your intentions when it's just like spell work. You want to know what you're looking to gain out of the experience, because if you just go, okay, spirits talk to me, you could miss all of the signs that they're giving you if you're not specific about what it is that you want, what you want from the interaction. So I kind of like take you through all these different steps. There's a guided meditation in there, and I talk about like other cultures and what other cultures, view about the afterlife, things like that. And then the second part of the book is basically a reference section, and that's the 30 signs. And I break down a bunch of different signs based on personal experience, but also tons and tons of research. Like, you should see the stacks of books that I read to write this book. Like, every dream dictionary I could get my hands on, every mediumship book, every witchcraft book, everything that I could find that talks about spirits and signs and, omens and superstitions and things like that, so that I could share historically what different things could possibly mean, but then also like, what my grandma taught me things could mean, which might not be history at all. It's just folklore,
which might work.
And then exactly. And then, and then my own personal experiences. And I kind of weave this into all of these signs so that when people do experience signs, they know what to look for and they have a launch pad for what it could possibly mean. And that to me is important, because I don't ever want to say definitively, like, this is only what a feather could mean, because, different signs are going to mean different things to different people at different points in their lives. Right. Mm-hmm. So the idea is to sort of give as much information as I can about a particular sign. And then in the end of the book, there's a journal section where you could write down, like, what sign did you experience? When did it happen? How did you feel during it? And so on and so forth. It's sort of a prompted journal to help people figure out their own spirit language. Because, maybe seeing a white feather for me means something different for somebody else.
Right. And I want to say, I took your class and it was online. Your classes are still online, right?
Well, the last one I just did was a hybrid. So it was half in store, in person at the Green Man store, and half online. There were more people online than in person. But I got to tell you, those hybrid classes are hard.
Well, I'll tell you this, because I want people to know, because you work through the Green Man in Los Angeles, and they better be happy to have you. That's all I'm saying. Because I took your class, could have paid a lot more for it, and it still would have been great. You had so many exercises, and that is something that people need. I think, there is and kind of isn't, do A, B, C, and you'll get to D. But people want to know, well, what do I do? You laid that out so beautifully. And we did it online. I can't remember if it was a Wednesday or it was one of those few nights I don't work. And that was really, I cannot say enough good things about that. Just the exercises and the do this, try this, do this. And it really cracked things open. So tell us, actually, did you write a book with having exercises in them? Or did you take the classes?
Yeah, well, as you're saying this, it's occurring to me that I should probably pitch my next book to be all exercises, because, I had very limited space in this book to talk about all the things. So it's very much sort of a beginner book. It's a little bit of everything for everybody. And I think I have a how-to step-by-step to do a seance. So that's a little bit like an exercise, and it's got some exercise type stuff in it. But the classes right now, are really where that's at. And that's my specialty is these exercises, because that's how I learned. That's how I, became a medium myself. I went through, like, I read every book I could find, took every class I could, and, joined, other psychics and groups doing seances and stuff like that, and just learned from other people, because what I found was you really need to incorporate these exercises, and really daily, if a person can handle it, because that's what's going to open the floodgates for you. It's meditation and ritualizing it, and sort of creating a daily practice for yourself to constantly connect. And it's amazing because what I discovered in teaching these classes is it's wonderful to watch the progress of the students. And in the beginning, they're doing their exercises. And, my favorite one to use are the Zener cards for, telepathy and clairvoyance, because, you hold up you hide the card, like one person looks at it and like someone else has to try to figure out what the card is without looking at it. And whenever I start these types of classes in the beginning, like maybe one person gets it right. And then by the end of it, after going through all the exercises, everybody starts nailing it. It's like more than half the time people are getting the cards correct. So it just shows me how important it is to do these training exercises that really gets your mind in the right place.
It does. And I'm going to put in a shameless plug for my Patreon here, because once a month I have Safe Place to Read, and people can come in who are starting to read tarot or have read for their friends and don't know how to break out. And they come in and they read for strangers who are also readers. And it's a great way to try whatever you want. Come in and try mediumship, but it's really the doing that makes it, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's amazing how people will like want to do something like this, and then they never do the exercises, and then they wonder why it doesn't work when they set up a seance,
Yes. Yes. And also this book is in Target, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah, it's everywhere. So the publisher is Callisto, but it's being distributed by Simon and Schuster, and then also Source Books under the parent company, Penguin Random House.
That's so as big as it gets.
I know. I'm like losing my mind. I've got two of them big five,
Oh, that's fantastic. I love this story. I love this so much. Okay, so I'm going to be seeing your book everywhere. But I know that probably it's more prestigious to be in those other places, but I was like, it's at Target.
I know. I can't wait. I know. I'm like counting down the days when it's released so I can like finally see it out in the world,
Oh, that's great. That's great. And I don't know if you could make this a pitch for your next book, but I would say the exercises in a workbook, and you would do that brilliantly.
Oh, I would love to do that. You're giving me ideas, because I've been thinking about like, I've got to pitch another book,
Yes, you do. This is the start of your empire. And I love it. And I think that's what we're kind of doing right now, is we're building empires in a weird way. Also, real quickly, and the topic that I really want to circle back to at the second half, not this half, but people know I am unbelievably strict about who are you talking to and protection. And I know there's a lot of ways to go with that, but tell, before we get there, because everybody was like, I feel like one of my predictions for this year was that you have to be unbelievably careful who you're channeling, that people are going to get tricked. Well, let's go right into it. I'm going to get real conspiracy Karen right off the bat. So with all that's going on in the world, the negative ickies have an awful lot to eat. And they are getting strong. They are getting strong and influential. And I have to say, up here in Utica, which is someday it will be my favorite training ground, but right now it's not. It is, the land is bad. Civil War, Revolutionary War, French War, whatever. It's tough. Like, I know the minute I drive away, I'm like, okay, now I'm me again. So in my predictions podcast, I was talking about people have to be very careful who they're talking to. And someone texted me and said, how do you be careful? How do you know? And I'm going to go way out on a limb. I usually only try to talk with Jesus, and I can tell you something else may slip in there and pretend it's Jesus. So give me your opinion or how you would coach somebody on this.
Oh, wow. That's a big question. So I would probably do a number of different things. Like if the person was a practicing witch, then I would have them start incorporating wards and things like that. So what a ward is, it is a device that you create that is whose sole purpose is to protect you and your space. And a ward could be something as simple as two twigs of a rowan tree tied together in a cross shape with a red string. And you could put that around you, one in each direction, northeast, southwest. And then, and then there's a lot of other things that you can do in the sort of witch world. Now, obviously, if you are a Christian or any other kind of religion, you're probably not going to use something that's witchy. So in that case, I would recommend, if you're specifically Christian, go ahead and, put crosses up around you, because that's just the nature of what that is. It's going to be a natural ward for you.
And it's real funny, because I'm not really sure that this is so weird. I totally believe in Jesus. I don't know if I'm a Christian. I think they're two separate things.
I agree.
Yeah, and I'm going to ask a weird, the sort of anal retentive A-type personality question about the ward. So you're making it something like that. So if it got lost or if you moved, you could make another one, right? So it's not that
absolutely
object. Okay. So we don't have to get technically tied down. So if I decide I want to make magic rocks and I bless rocks, that would do. I could find a rock anywhere. Okay.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. It's largely, it's part the item that you're using. Like, so with the rowan, I would, for that, I would use rowan simply because it's a sacred tree. It's a holy tree. It's one of the 9 sacred bonfire trees in the ancient, I think it's Druid or something. I'm not sure. I can't remember my mind is blanking right now.
That's
but
okay.
It's in the book.
Whatever you said, we would believe you.
Right. Yeah. But anyway, it's a sacred tree, and it has protective qualities to it. So if I was going to use a rock, I would find one that felt protected to me. There are certain rocks that come that way, like selenite is automatically protective. Black tourmaline is automatically protective. But you could even go out and get a small pebble from a stream that's been worked over by the water, because that's going to have that energy to it, and it's also going to be protective. But then other things that you could do if you don't want to have an item or an object around you, there are things that you can create around you just in your space. For example, if you practice Reiki, you can put Reiki signs around you, before you, behind you, on either side of you, above and below you, to put yourself in basically a big Reiki bubble. And then that's going to protect you. If you don't practice Reiki, you can, there's in ceremonial magic, there's something called the LBRP, which is the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram. And you put the different names of God around you, and the archangels around you. So, and then if you want to do something that's completely non-denominational, and this is actually one that's taught by the Monroe Institute, and it's one of my favorites because it's just super simple, but you just sort of picture energy flowing from the earth. So you want to get that grounding Gaia energy. You flow it up through your feet, through your whole body, out your crown, up into the heavens and the cosmos. And then you kind of imagine it sparkling down, falling all down around you like a sparkly bubble. And you enclose yourself in this protective sphere and push all negative energy out of it. And so that you're just in a protective bubble. It's kind of like the white light thing.
Right. That, yes, I think I've used that one, or I've read that one. That is very good. And also, so this was really interesting. I was doing my readings today, and before I started my first reading, I sometimes I don't have that minute. I know you're supposed to sit down and meditate and get ready, and you spend like an hour getting ready for your readings. And
I do.
Sometimes I plunk right down and it just works. You know what I mean? Especially if I have the spot where I go, and a prayer came into my head that I didn't necessarily put there, and it was literally about protecting me and my clients and for their highest good. So they could use a prayer too, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's basically, because what is prayer? Prayer is you're speaking words into the void to create something. You know what I mean? So it works totally.
And is the key here repetition?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And the more times you do it, the reason why I take like an hour to prep is because if I'm very easily distracted. So I have to sort of like force myself to shut everything out and and focus. And that it usually takes me an hour to like get into that space. But not everybody needs that. You know what I mean? And sometimes it's just a matter of sometimes if a friend called me out of the blue and needs a quick reading, I'll just do a quick thing where I just sort of just say, all right, spirit guides, protect me. And I just,
right. Okay. Yeah. They know,
push it out.
I moved 3 times in the last year in the same like building area. It's a long story, but I notice that when I get the space where I'm sitting, like I'll never forget, Angela Lovell came to my house once in LA and she sat down in the chair I read in and she was like, oh my God, what goes on here? And I was like, that's my reading chair, right? Because that's kind of like my space. And so once like now I have my space ready, so it doesn't take as much. But even my tarot teacher was like, everyone, you got to take a minute. And I was like, oh, sometimes I just sit and it happens. But that's my personality, my way.
Yeah.
So I have a couple of weird questions for you with protection and guides, and then we're going to hit that channeling question a little deeper. So hang on, we'll be right back.
Are you a seeker who craves a life of authenticity and freedom, but can't seem to get unstuck from experiences of duality? My name is Z, and I spent years stuck in victimhood, craving enlightenment, but trapped in a cycle of 2 steps forward and what felt like 100 steps back. I felt like I was drowning in fear and shame until I started learning about the nervous system. It turns out that while we are spiritual beings, we are only able to be here because of these physical bodies, and the nervous system is just trying to keep us alive by bringing us back to fight, flight, freeze responses. We can get stuck in these defense states, or we can gain resilience by developing a respectful and trusting relationship with our nervous system. If you're ready to learn more, check out my YouTube channel and join us for online coaching and courses by going to www.anexperiencer.com. That's anexperiencer.com. See you there.
So since you're kind of witchy or very witchy, I want to tell you some weird things that have happened. A couple of weird stories. One was a good story where I was meditating outside, for my readings or whatever. This was a while ago. And I saw in my mind like 2, have you ever seen the, I think it's the X-Men where the one guy is like built of rocks. He turns into rocks. One on each side of me out of nowhere. And I was like, I don't know what that was. It all turned out fine. But everybody was like, I think you got 2 protectors or something else was going on. Okay, good. So, right? And that's a good thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I would say that's a good thing because immediately when you said that, I got the feeling of protection. And, when I think of rocks, I think of earth. I think of, Uriel, the archangel. I think of and everything that comes along with that archangel. That's which is often, of course, protection and guidance and things like that. And what's really kind of strange is I actually had a similar situation happen where I was in a guided meditation. I was a friend of mine who was teaching. She was teaching a Reiki class. I can't remember which level it was now though, because I did all the levels with her. They're all kind of a blur, but she did this guided meditation where we were sort of creating this like healing space. A place where you could tap into our own and healing energy and, heal other people, what have you. And I think she even mentioned that we like a new guide might pop up while we're doing that and just kind of go with the flow. And in mine, there was I saw this sort of pool of water and then some rocks around it and some foliage or what have you. And then the rocks started to like join together and form and they created this being. And I kind of that pictured, it almost kind of looked like the Michelin Man.
Oh, yes, exactly. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Right. And I was like, what are you? And I just get this sense of like, I have been conjured up to be your protector with this modality. And I was like, oh, okay, well, welcome, new spirit guide, join the party.
I love it. Well, then out here, and this is what I think. And I actually did a Patreon podcast about this, and I don't know, this could be wrong, but like, so for astrology, I am all fire and air. I'm fire and air. There's no landing. There's no grounding, and that's just looking at rising signs and moons and all that. And I think this heavy energy in upstate New York is elemental. In fact, I was talking to another psychic, and she was like, elemental everywhere. Like it's a very earth. So I'm kind of an air fire in an earth place. And
interesting.
And something just banged very loudly in my kitchen. All right, I hear you. I hear you, elemental. So that was very strange. All right. So anyways, 2 different things happened. And just before I was getting ready to do the podcast for this, where I was kind of telling people, everyone, you need to be careful who you're talking to. I had someone pop in, and and something popped in, and it looked like a, the Greek warriors, or they wore the thing where the nose was covered and and the helmet, and it had that helmet, and I was like, I kind of looked at it a little bit. And then it didn't go away. And the next day, and then I asked my cards, I said, is that something I want to keep around? And they were like, no. Ooh. And so I said, if you're not a higher guide or not for my best, you have to go. And I never saw it again.
Amazing.
Yes. So I think maybe there is an ethical thing on the other side, or maybe it was removed because of that. But this is the weirdest story here. So I walk to yoga every night. And one day I was walking back home, and something jumped on my back, like literally moved my yoga mat. And I turned around, I thought a person grabbed me. And
wow.
I was like, what? And I went home, and the next day someone was doing an energy reading, and she said, what jumped on your back? What's on your back? And I know, right? And I ended up, I was like, okay, I started burning some incense, and she said, it says it smells really bad in there. So there's a weird something here. And, I feel like I'm kind of fighting that all the time. So I just thought I'd put in that story as that's a ask if what's there is supposed to be there. That helps, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And, I like to use tools for that, because sometimes, like when I'm doing a reading for a person, I don't use any tools. I don't use cards. I don't use anything right off the bat. I just listen to my guides. Mm-hmm. And then if they want to do a mediumship, then through my guides, will pull in their spirit. So I use my spirit guides as bouncers to keep out any negative spirits or tricksters or things like that. And now not everybody is going to have, not everyone has that kind of relationship with their guides. So there are other things that you can do, like, like you said, like just saying, just declaring any negative spirits or anything that is here to harm me or use me in any kind of way, back off. You do not have permission to be here. Only good spirits who are here for my best and highest good are allowed in this space, and everyone else, get the hell out,
Yeah.
So I do think it's important to say that, and, or to, in some kind of a way. And then, there's other ways to do that too. Like something that I've gotten kind of obsessed with lately are the Seals of Solomon. Have you ever worked with the Seals of Solomon?
I read Damien, what's his name, his book. I started it, but I get my mentor is a demonologist, and he said, I'm not sure about that guy, but he is always so adamant about know the source of what you're doing. Because I asked about a couple of tattoos, and he was like, know the source, that you didn't just find that. So I know a little, but not enough. You go ahead. You tell us.
Well, I'm still learning myself. I just started reading this book, and I've been, I've been sort of like drawn to them since I was a teenager, which is really, really weird. And, I sort of dabbled with it for off and on. And then something lately has been basically said to me, like, you need to take a deep dive on this, learn everything you can about these, because they are very, very powerful. And so there are seals of Solomon that you can use to help protect yourself from those types of like negative energies and things like that. And one that comes to mind is the third pentacle of Jupiter. It's sort of specifically designed for that, to for lack of a better word, control the spirits so that the negative ones can't come in. You know what I mean? But also, a lot of it too is being just super mindful,
Right.
like when you want to communicate with spirits, it's important to ask a number of different questions. What is your name? How did you die? What is your purpose here? um you know and yes, ask, are you here for my best and highest good, or however you want to word it. Everyone has a different ways. I did that in a class once, and one of the students laughed because they thought it was cheesy. And I'm like, yeah, but it works.
Mhm.
And so what if it's a little cheesy, and if you feel like you can't get the answer, because sometimes if you're new to this, you might not trust your own intuition to tell, like, yes, it's, the answer is yes, or the answer is no. And then it's really good to use things like tarot cards or runes, or very specifically pendulums or dowsing rods, because with those you get very binary answers.
Mhm.
And so, like, when I pull out my pendulum, I'll be like, first I calibrate it, show me yes, show me no, so I know what the pattern is. And then I'll say, spirit, whatever spirit is here right now that's trying to communicate, are you here to, do you come in peace, basically, or, are you here to harm me in some kind of way? And I'll ask one or two of the questions, and you would be surprised at how often, if they do arrive to harm you, they will tell you. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like, because one might say, well, what if they then trick you again and say they're not here to harm you, they want to help you. But I find that just asking the question kind of throws them off guard a little bit. I feel like a lot of people might not do that. They just maybe just are wide open. I had a friend that I used to practice with who would just be like, anything, come in. I don't care what you are, good,
Oh.
bad, demon, like, what, just show up and do stuff. And it's like, no, gosh, what are you doing? No. And then those people get possessed and they're like, oh gosh, what happened? Well, I mean, hello.
Yes, and thank you for bringing up possession. We're going to go there for just a second. But I went to, and this is the other thing where I tell people, you have to be on guard all the time, because sometimes the spiritual community is the worst. I
Yes.
walked into a healing circle and my brain showed me Jesus, Archangel Michael, and Buddha by my side. And I was like, what is going on in
Whoa.
here? And it was a very bizarre thing, but I'll never forget. Like, I, I've never had I felt like all three of them were standing there, like, duh, be very careful in here.
Wow. When you said that, I got chills from head to toe.
Right. And it was a healing circle kind of thing. So, and I think sometimes healing circles, people bring their crap in.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, everywhere you go, people bring their crap in. You know what I mean? Like, if I'm teaching a class, I can sense when a student has brought something in, and I will just sort of silently push it out.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's also, the sign of a good, host or teacher or leader of a practice like this. If you step into a place and you can feel that energy, well, then whoever is leading that, or whoever owns the space, is not properly cleansing beforehand. You know what I
Good
mean?
to know.
So, like, before I do any classes, I will walk in a clockwise circle around my space, burning incense and chanting to make sure that nothing can get in.
Right. I did a when I was in a Reiki circle with someone, the woman next to me, and I don't even know how to say this, folks, but I almost want to say trust no one. She felt a little off to me, and then what it looked like in my mind was something was attached to her right at the bottom of her spine. And as we did this circle, it pushed outside the circle like a kite, but it kept that one string attached to her spine.
Wow.
And I was like, it just pushed back until we were done. I mean, I don't know if that's possible, but that's what I thought.
Oh, that's absolutely possible. So it's interesting that you bring that up, because you know how it is when you're walking this path and you're constantly training and practicing, you start to develop like new abilities on top of your existing abilities.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my new abilities that has been coming in the past year or so has been seeing cords between people and things. Like everywhere I look, I see strings everywhere between things. And so what you're describing makes total sense. I can see it in my mind's eye so clearly. And I do believe that, because when, like I can see strings between people who are maybe in a relationship or close friendship or familial, but there's also these strings attached to spirits. So, my main guides, I can see that they're attached to me. I can see when I meditate and I remote view or astrally project, I can see my own string attached, like my higher self attached to my body, So, everybody, if you get an attachment, people use the word attachment. I don't think half the time they even realize what they're saying. It's in the description.
Yeah.
How are they attached? By an energy cord, and sometimes, some practitioners will do that on purpose because they feel as though they need to, call on an entity to help give them more magic and power. Mm-hmm. Personally, I don't like to work that way. I like to use because I want to know what I can do on my own. I want to know you know what I mean? Like I want to develop my own power and see how far that I can take it without siphoning it from some other entity.
Mm-hmm.
But everyone has their own path. So, some people prefer to use an entity's power, and that's fine. Everyone has their own choice, whatever. But then, sometimes we accidentally attract things, and then it's like, oh crap. Like, for example, I went to Pompeii a few years ago and completely just wasn't even in the mindset of needing to protect myself because I'm a tourist. I'd never been to Italy before. The one place that I wanted to go to was Pompeii because I've been obsessed with it since I was a kid. And I walk around the whole place. Halfway through, all of a sudden I get this incredible pressure on my chest. My back starts hurting. I start to feel like something's pushing down on my head. And I was like, oh, maybe it's just the heat. Maybe I'm just, it's a big place. It's a lot of walking. So I had all these like mundane excuses in my head. And then I got home from Italy and I was like horribly depressed for like 2 weeks. I just didn't want to get out of bed. I wasn't answering or returning messages. I wasn't, going anywhere. And a friend was finally like, who's a Reiki master, and she's been doing it for many, many years. She was like, you have an attachment. You picked up something. Mm-hmm. And she didn't even know I went to Pompeii. But she said to me, when she saw me, because she drove over my house and was like, I'm going to come and see you because something's going on here. And she just looked at me for 2 seconds and she goes, you went somewhere very ancient where something very bad happened and you brought something home from it. I was like, oh no,
Pompeii. Yes. But I love this story because no one's above this.
Right.
No one.
Exactly.
In fact, I still wonder what's happening here in Utica because this is not my place and I am not me. Mm. And I am also living in a house that a very sad woman who was handicapped lived for many years. And so I feel like there's all these things and you always come out of this, you know what I mean? Like stronger. But yes. I feel like I was put in this strange, like she lived here. I know she was massively depressed. I think she was here like 15 years. Anytime anyone lives there. And I think I talked to her a couple of times and she was really not okay. Are people stealing from me kind of stuff? It was very weird. But I always am trying to scan for attachment because it's so bizarre out here in upstate New York. It's not my kind of place. But I love that you told that story because nobody's above this.
Nobody, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how practiced you are. You know what I mean? There's, and the thing is too, some of these attachments are incredibly strong. They've been floating around, just rolling around in negative energy for possibly eon, and, places, specifically places, I want to say in like North America, we know what's happened here. We know what, with colonization and all, you know what I mean? Like there have been a lot of atrocities committed on this land from Massachusetts to California.
Right where I'm sitting. Yep. Oops, we lost you there for a second. Oh, the phone hung up. Oh, all right, folks. I'm going to take a break. I'll be right back.
Hey, everybody. How's that spiritual awakening going? I know. Don't worry. Help is here. HighlySpiritualPerson.com is a haven for spiritual misfits and empaths navigating spirituality and mental health. My friend Camille has a plethora of resources on her site to help you on your spiritual journey, even if you're just starting out. It includes individual and collective Reiki sessions, personalized guided meditations, sleep affirmation tracks, and so much more. Camille has so much to offer. She's going to be on my podcast in December. I can't wait to talk to her. Her blog posts and podcast episodes explore spirituality and are great for folks carving out their own path. She has written 2 easy-to-follow guidebooks, one on breathwork, and the newest book is called Manifestation is Easy, and it features 22 step-by-step manifestation techniques, as well as tips and advice on how to overcome the most common blocks and start changing your reality. Go to HighlySpiritualPerson.com. I promise you will get lost in how much information is in there. It's one of my favorite rabbit holes.
Okay, people know I just took the ad break right there. But do you see, am I crazy? Where I'm living, I think, that statement, if you look into the paranormal, it looks back. I think I look too hard because this place, there's so many tales of Native American stuff happening. And I wonder if that, when I first moved here, I put an offering out and I said, I'm sorry. And hopefully we can live. And now I'm in a different part of where I am. And there was something else. I was talking to someone. The phone keeps hanging up in certain places. I think I need a clearing.
Yeah, I feel that way too, because it was interesting that, talking about the atrocities of the land and then all of a sudden the phone goes dead. I was like, oh, hello.
Yeah. Well, when I first moved here, something came into my room and I said, you can't be here. And it said, feed the squirrels and I'll go away. And that was kind of the deal. I fed the squirrels and I didn't see the thing again. But there is something, I don't know if that's on me. I don't think it's on me. I think it's around me and it reacts. When that thing was on my back, what the woman said was, this thing loves it when you're miserable. Loves it.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Well, that's the thing. And that was the thing that I was going to also say, where sometimes when we attract attachments accidentally, it's often when we're depressed or anxious or fearful or angry or, any strong, I'm going to use the words negative emotion. I don't necessarily think that those emotions are negative because,
you gotta feel your
is an
feelings.
Emotion.
Yep.
Exactly. But, anything that does let's put it like this, anything that lowers our vibrations is like fuel for some of these entities, And so if you take a land where, mass atrocities have occurred, you're likely to have, and then of course, the indigenous people of America were highly spiritual. Some of them were, not all of them, obviously, but some of them were highly spiritual. So then you're dealing with, very spiritual people who were treated very horribly, murdered, and that energy is going to stick, And what's interesting is when you were talking about it, I kept getting tobacco in my head for some reason. So I don't know if you gave an offering of tobacco or if they want an offering of tobacco.
I will
but
do
I was
that.
getting it. Yeah, I was getting like a swirl around you. It doesn't feel like it's on you physically, but what I'm getting is something, it's almost like it's like swirling around you, if that makes sense.
That makes perfect sense. And it also, like I said, I'm kind of off my game here. My readings are still right on. In fact, I think I kind of got a psychic upgrade when I got here, but I have never been stretched so thin with what's going, and not my stuff. Like, I will never be responsible for another person. I'm never getting married. With how sick my parents are, my dad passed, but and this is a really good kind of segue. People have to be very careful of toxic positivity around me, because I'm like, it's not the time. It's not, I know I created this or whatever you want to say. It's not right now. We're not going there right now. But right now, I just decided not manifesting, not anything, just me as white light. That's it. I'm just doing that.
Just beautiful.
Yeah, because I can't, everything is so screwy. I don't want to, I just right now, white light. That's it.
Well, and it's interesting that you brought this up, because there's the, new age influencers and things like that, like all over the internet. And it's, everything is manifest, manifest, manifest. And what people forget is how much energy that can take. You can't be in a constant state of manifestation. That's just crazy. You have to look at everything as, look at the yin yang, positive, negative. Everything has a balance. You know what I mean? So it's like, if we're constantly manifesting, we're gonna drain ourselves. We're gonna zap ourselves. There are times when we have to stop. We have to recharge. We have to release. We have to just be.
Yep. There's also, I always laugh at TikTok. I'll never forget somebody. It's like wildfire. First of all, there was this like standing goat, and some woman goes, "Oh, welcome." Like, she opened her door and it was on her back porch, and everybody was just like, "I have to burn sage, stupid white girl, blah, blah, blah." And the video was from a wax museum. That was a wax piece in a museum, but everybody was like, "Only dumb white women would open the door, and I'm from this heritage and I know what this is." And I was like, "Oh my God, that's a wax sculpture." It was a great sculpture. But also, have you seen this one? What I would never do as a spiritual practitioner, I would never have a welcome mat in front of my house, because that invites the devil. And I was like,
are you kidding?
One person said that, and then it was like wildfire. It went everywhere. It made me laugh so hard.
Wow. Well, it's like, if your welcome mat can welcome in the devil, then you're not doing protections right.
What is your welcome mat made of? Is it made of other people's flesh? What are you doing?
Right? I know. The Necronomicon is your welcome mat. What is happening?
Yes. I actually, now I really want to get a reading from you, because I think just a reading on where I am and what's going on, it's really crazy. I've never, and I travel all over. And when you were talking about picking up attachments when you travel, when I travel, because of all the years of comedy, I have some weird shell around me. My friend told me that. She's like, no. You go in a different state of mind in hotels and all this. They don't bother you because you learn to put up a shell. But this here in Utica is like nothing I've ever encountered. Or maybe I've just been here too long. But
well, you know what I'm getting, though? I'm getting that something there lowered your guard.
Ah.
Yeah, something, and it maybe you're distracted with something you're focusing on, but it's something tells me that you lowered your guard while you were there. But not only that, but you're also you're extra shiny. You know what I mean? Like, so these spirits are going to be attracted to you because you're extra shiny. It's like moths to flame, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's all different kinds of reasons for that. But the number one thing is, yes, if you stare into the abyss will stare back. And so it's and that's why it's like, I say that anybody could do this, but I also am very adamant to say, protect yourself before you do this stuff, because, I didn't, when I was younger, I didn't know well enough to protect myself. And man, I got, banged around.
Yeah, me too.
A lot, so So lots of times when I teach or what I share, whether it's in a class or a book or whatever, it's from the place of, I made all the mistakes. Don't do what I did. Here's the right way to do it. Or, not necessarily to say that my way is the right way, because I try to also incorporate many different ways, because I acknowledge that, we have to be inclusive. And so that's why if a person is Christian, I'll say use crosses. If you're a witch, use a rowan. You know what I mean? Like, because everyone has their traditions and their cultures. There's no one right way to protect yourself, but you should just protect yourself, whatever that way is for you. You know what I mean?
Yes. And also, and you actually, what you just said to me makes perfect sense, because I've always had almost this conversational connection with Archangel Michael, and I don't have it right now. Like, I think I have to reassess that. And I live, there's two different buildings that the same person I'm renting from, and I moved into one that's very quiet, but it has that sad energy. But I moved into the other building, first day in, pictures flying off the wall, like somebody is bumping them up, not like they're falling down, like they're getting bumped up. So I think you were right about, I came in and I didn't treat it. It's also furnished, which I think furnished is like a hotel room, and I didn't treat it like a hotel room. Like, how many people's energy is on this? So I think you nailed it again, lady.
Yeah. And it's interesting too, like how much just furniture can hold energy, whether it's a sentient spirit or just the echo of some previous trauma. It's, and that's of course what psychometry is for. When you read an object, and a lot of times people imagine psychometry and they just picture like a piece of jewelry or a book, but it's also a couch or a bed or,
Yes.
But then also pictures flying off the wall. That tells me that something is desperately trying to get your attention.
Yes. And also there's a weird thing, and I know that this is a long shot, but I'm just going to keep this as vague as I can. There was someone connected to the owner that took an art class and did all the paintings. And I met the person and I felt like, oh, and they did all the artwork that's in all these rooms, and it's majorly creepy, and a lot of eyes looking at you in a cartoonish way. But I know somewhere somebody said, I think that was in the Exorcist Handbook, she said things can see you through the eyes of pictures and things in your house. And I feel like it's a lot. That's what I'll say. It's a lot.
Well, and if you think about paintings, or any kind of artwork, the practitioner is going to infuse it with not only their own energy, but any other energies or entities that they're working with. I've done readings where I was been asked to scry a painting to see if there were spirits in it. And there were, to my shock and surprise.
Yep.
That was my first introduction to the fact of, oh, right, paintings can hold, of course, when I was a kid, I saw Ghostbusters 2 with the painting. And when I was a kid, I thought that, oh, this is funny, ha ha ha. And now as an adult, I look back and go, actually, that's a little closer to the truth than I might be comfortable with. But energies and entities can absolutely inhabit a painting. It's most likely connected to the artist. And, because you got to figure where are they channeling? Where are they getting the inspiration to do these particular paintings? It could be a spirit that is channeling through them. And then the spirit's energy is boom in that painting.
Yeah.
And spirits are also very, very drawn to anything that has qualities of a body. Because they don't have a body anymore. They're free floating energy. So they're going to be drawn to dolls, to mannequins, to paintings of people,
I am doing a comedy piece. This is a serious. Maybe this is wrong, but I had a doll that as a little kid, it was my doll, and my mother bought it for me. If you saw this doll, it's green, it's purple with green eyes, and it's called Emerald. And it's a witch. It's a witch hat. It's a witch doll. And that was you can have all the Barbies you want. That was my doll. And I always saved this doll and I moved to Vegas and I lost it. And then I moved to San Diego. And then when I was in San Diego, I flew home to Pittsfield, Massachusetts, and my parents were selling their house. And my mother comes out of the attic and goes, "Do you want this?" I don't know why it was up in the attic, and it was the doll.
I got chills again.
So
it apparated.
Guess what's sitting right across from me? I don't go anywhere without that doll.
Isn't that amazing?
It is. And if you saw the doll, even I look at the doll and I'm like, this, I don't know what it was. And maybe I should get rid of the doll. But I've always had it, and I have nothing. I don't own anything else that doesn't fit my car, and I have this doll. But I think that is the thing about dolls and haunted dolls. Maybe there's somebody good in there, I hope. But I've had this doll now for probably 50 years.
Wow. It feels, just sensing the energy, it feels very psychic and very protective, and do you know if you have an ancestor that did this stuff?
You know what? I don't know for sure, but my dad's side has had wild paranormal stuff, really wild, including clocks stopping every time someone dies and stuff like that. So it certainly doesn't feel dangerous or bad, but it is a weird thing where people are like, "Why do you have this?" And I'm like, well, it'll find me if I don't. But something you were saying earlier, just because I could talk to you forever. I'm so sad this is running out. Somebody on TikTok was talking about making servitors, which for those of you that don't know, they're spirits that do something for you. You sort of create the spirit. I have only known very bad servitors, like people that have had haunted houses, like demonic, not like I'm talking over the top. When you have a over the top, the servitors are the ones that come in first and they create chaos.
Yeah.
I would never create a servitor unless I was kidnapped and I needed to get I shouldn't even say that. I never say never. But I have zero interest in creating any sort of form or servitor. How do you feel about that?
Well, in the tradition that I was taught that you use the term fetish to describe the same thing as a servitor. But in the tradition that I was taught it in, it was, you could use it to do, bad things, but I was sort of taught to create them also as protectors and to watch over you. So that's something that I actually teach that in one of my classes. I teach how to basically birth a spirit for a particular purpose. But you have to, it's very tricky. It's like, you don't want to just do it willy-nilly. You have to be very cautious and careful, because say, for example, you were to birth a spirit to protect you from negative energy and say, the spirit has to feed on something. So say you say, oh, the spirit should feed on the negative energy. Well, then what happens if you don't have negative energy coming at you? What is the spirit going to feed on? Well, now the spirit's going to create negative energy because it's starving. You know what I mean? So, that's why you have to be very, very careful about it. And it's also good to sort of create an out for yourself in case you need to dismantle and free the spirit and let it go back into the void, because, you don't want to be stuck with something for the rest of your life that might not be serving your best and highest good. But, I would say, I feel fairly sort of neutral towards it. Like, I don't think that it's good or bad, but I do think the particular practitioner could make it good or bad, if that makes sense.
That makes perfect sense. In other words, know what you're doing. That isn't for me, but if you think that this sounds good for you, you should take Melissa's classes. That's what I'm saying. Melissa, tell everyone where they can find you. First of all, the book will be, what's the title of the book? I got it right in front of me. Wait a minute.
So the book is 30 Real Signs from the Afterlife, and it is currently available for pre-order on Amazon, Target, Barnes and Noble, wherever you buy books. And it will be released on May 7th of this year. And on May 11th, I am going to do a book signing / workshop at the Green Man store. And the workshop is on spirit scribbling, which is basically like automatic writing, but I keep the door open for drawing as well. And the idea behind it is I'm going to teach people how to channel energy just through their arms. so that they can, maybe you're a writer and you have writer's block. So you can channel energy to help you be more creative, but you could also just channel it to answer a question like, should I take this job? Yes or no? And so, you can use it as a form of divination. But that's going to be my workshop. That's May 11th at the Green Man store. And people can sign up for, I don't think it's on their website, but I will announce it on all of my socials once it's on their website. And I am AmericanWitch13.com. That's my website. And then on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook, I am American Witch 13.
And also on Instagram, you got a blue check?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I have a blue check because
I got it.
I have a lot of scammers and people who try to pretend to be me and try to reach out to my followers and offer readings and DMs. I never do any DM readings.
Nope.
You can only book me through the Green Man store by using their website and booking me, or calling them and booking me. But yes, I have a blue check mark to hopefully make me float above the scammers.
I finally had to buy it, and I was kind of like, you know what? I hate to give Zuckerberg or those people more money because it's their fault. It's not happening, but you got to buy it,
right?
And you got to have it. So,
yeah,
you are awesome. I can't wait to get my hands on that book. Melissa, please come back anytime. And if you have another book, please write the other book with the exercises in it, because I would love that one too. And yes, I guess that's it. Thank you, my dear.
Oh, thank you so much, Karen. It's been such a blast to be here. I love talking to you.
Oh, I can't wait to get back to LA and we'll hang out.
Yes.
All right. And thanks to Mike at Uno Rising Media. Everybody, will see you around. Sign up for my email list. It will have all my comedy dates on there. This is February. Actually, I think this is last week of February. I am in Pittsburgh. I'll do better. I'll come up with a better schedule. All right, everybody. Bye. Paranormal Karen.